Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation on why Ganondorf is mentally ill. As you can see there, there's a picture of me being mentally ill. If you're confused about this, if you don't know what's going on, just take a look at my community tab or the comment section of the Everclear video, which has like, what, 27,000 views now? Kind of crazy. It's been a whole year since then. Anyways, to understand my psychology, first we have to go into some statistics. And personally, this is one of my favorite concepts in statistics. It's called the Z curve, a bell curve, or a normal curve. Basically, it describes where in a given population a certain data point lies. So these numbers down here are standard deviations. You don't have to know what that means. Basically, it just tells you how far from average you are. If the number of standard deviations is negative, it is below average. If it is positive, it is above average. So most people, 68% of people, fall between -1 and 1 standard deviations. If you are more than 3 or close to 3, between 2 and 3, you're considered a outlier. So if you are above 2, that means you are in the top 2.5%. It says 95% there, but that means that there's 2.5% on either side. So 2.5% on the low end and 2.5% on the high end. To put those numbers in context, we have some numbers that I got at my recent neuropsychological evaluation. So for this data set, this is an intelligence test. The average is 10 and the standard deviation is 3. So basically, anything between 7 and 13 is considered average. And as you can see here, these numbers are big. So basically, you can see a lot of stuff above 13. The only two that aren't are coding and symbol search. Uh, this is like basic um IQ test kind of stuff, like defining words, being able to reason shapes in two-dimensional or three-dimensional space, rotating objects, stuff like that. Uh, the information one is kind of sort of weird because I feel like this psychologist is using um there was a lot of questions about culture that are no longer culturally relevant. And by a lot, I mean two. Um but on the next slide you can see some of the stuff that you might be much more familiar with, which is IQ scores. So everyone knows the average IQ is 100. The standard deviation is 15. If you are below 70, that means that you are severely mentally disabled. Basically, a score below 70 means that someone is almost always unable to take care of themselves. As you can see here, yeah, this is sort of insane. 142 is not normal, and you can see that through the percentiles. If you go back through here, um, on this bell curve, that means that I am very close to 3 standard deviations, between 2 and 3 in total. Verbal comprehension, perceptual reasoning, and working memory were all very good, while processing speed was just marginally better than average. Like the difference between 115 and 130 is not the same as the distance between 100 and 115. Like 111 might sound like it's pretty high, but honestly, that's like regular. You're kind of good at this. Um, don't call me a genius. I am not a genius. Traditionally, the cutoff for genius is at 3 standard deviations, which would be a IQ of 145. I am not that. And even probably the difference between 142 and 145 is rather large. And in my opinion, once you get high Q scores that are so large that they're literally off the chart, you probably didn't need to take an IQ test in the first place. That's my opinion. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a nerd. So next up for memory tests. These are a lot less interesting in my opinion. It's more of cognitive function rather than intelligence. So a lot of these tests are done with people who may have dementia and are beginning to slow down. Uh, as you can see, this one is much more interesting than the last one. Um, I did get some really good scores in logical memory, verbal paired associates, letter number sequencing. Um, I did not think that I did well with memory. Like spatial span, I thought I did really bad, but apparently it's just high average. The really interesting thing is that um, faces. Wow, I cannot remember faces. That score of 4, if you go back to that bell curve, each standard deviation is 3, 4 is 6 less than 10. That means 95% of people are better than me at remembering faces. So if you meet me, I probably didn't remember you. Very interesting. And then these are just like memory stuff. Nuts. This honestly isn't that important for intelligence in my opinion. Um, or it doesn't show that I'm super way out there like the IQ scores did. So, I guess I'm really good at auditory immediate. That one's fun because in that test, I had to repeat back a short narrative that was dictated at me, and there were two of them. That was really interesting. So 91 and 95th percentile, those mean that I am good at those, not that I am exceptional in any way. 95% statistically isn't exceptional. It's the weird thing is that I have really good auditory memory, but really bad visual memory, and I guess that sort of averages out to 105. Um, that's basically median immediate memory, 63rd percentile. That's statistically, I'm pretty sure that's no different from 50% if you know how statistical significance works. I am not sure if immediate memory is taking together the scores of auditory and visual memory. Don't know about that. I haven't like picked apart all of these tests exactly, but okay. Up next are a bunch of letters that I don't have detailed statistics for. Basically, the whole point of this is that I don't have a memory disorder, even though I reported that I was having difficulty forgetting things, bad attention span. I would often um, forget something that was literally sitting right next to me. Like I've left so many things on the bus that were sitting next to me. Yeah, the RDVLT is the only one that I didn't have a description of superior performance on. I don't know what the difference between superior and above average are. When I was doing research on it, those aren't like standard categories of scores. So RDVLT is visual memory. So that sort of tracks with the previous results that I have really good auditory memory and other sorts of memory, but I have poorer visual memory. So, but uh, Danendorf, I thought you said you were mentally ill. So far, all we've proven is that I'm above average intelligence, except for remembering faces. I don't have a memory disorder. So what exactly does Danendorf have? So the next thing that went on in the neuropsychological exam was the psychological exam. Yeah, everything that we've been looking at prior to this has been neurological and cognitive performance. Uh, you can fail a personality test. That's that's a very interesting thing about the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. It has a scale called validity. Basically, if the validity scale is flagged, that means that the respondent is likely lying about some of their scores to either intentionally make themselves look better or worse. In this case, the validity scale flagged me for deliberately making myself look worse. So I had very high scores on depression, anxiety, paranoid ideation, thought disorder, ADHD, PTSD, and character disorder. Even though, as you saw before, I don't really have a memory or thought disorder. We'll get to thought disorders later. And the doctor's interpretation of this is that I am in emotional distress, which leads to emotional difficulty and inaccurate self reports. I think more negatively of myself than I actually am. And the thing about being a psychology major who has studied these things before is that I know the subscales of the MMPI. I knew about the validity scales, and I honestly considered um, fudging my own answers to attempt to try to not trigger the validity flag. But in the end, I decided to answer everything honestly, as I genuinely thought of myself. And I guess I do think of myself as much less functional than I actually am. Like, I believe that I'm going insane or whatever. So I believe that I'm depressed, anxious, paranoid, that I don't think straight. Uh, it said that I didn't score high on psychosomatic or substance abuse disorders. Psychosomatic is basically like hypochondria, where you believe that you are physically ill, which in turn can actually make someone physically ill. So I don't have that. A couple other interesting things. I personally didn't I didn't have the same amount of experience with these other things as I did with the MMPI. Um, I'm actually an introvert. I typically think of myself as an extrovert that likes going out, likes meeting people, likes being in social situations. But it seems that my what they call energy formation. Do you get energy from being alone, having time to yourself, or do you get energy from um, being around people? That's the definition of introvert versus extrovert. Common language has, I guess, shifted that meaning among lay people to mean likes being around people versus likes being at home reading a book. That's not what it means. The specific phrase that was used for me was gregarious introvert. Gregarious meaning that someone is um, personable, likes being around other people, generally friendly. The way that I used to think about it, and this is something that I actually have thought of myself, I used to describe that feeling of being a gregarious introvert as being an antisocial extrovert. Um, the word antisocial has a lot of negative connotations. It doesn't just mean liking being alone. It means having a disregard for the feelings and um, emotions of others. That's where you get APD, antisocial personality disorder, what is called in common language being a psychopath. So, yeah, I'm not a psychopath. That's what I was trying to get at. Supplementary scales. I'm not entirely sure what that is. It was a very long survey, a very long questionnaire. The MMPI itself has several hundred questions in it. So lack of self esteem, hostility, lack of adequate maturity, general negative outlook. Guys, that's just me. No surprise there. And then the last thing, I wasn't entirely sure how to interpret this, so I might have to go over this with the counselor. Mixed self esteem, emotional maturity, social maturity. It doesn't have a great explanation of what those mean. In my report, it just lists the uh, questionnaire items word for word, which honestly isn't very helpful. Um, I don't understand where they get mixed from, because I have terrible self-esteem, I have terrible emotional maturity, and terrible social maturity. I genuinely believe that I have the emotional and social skills of probably a 13-year-old, 12-year-old. Uh, so I don't know if mixed is the right way to put it because even as I'm reading these items, you don't see them in front of you. I'm looking at them right now. I don't have a script, by the way. This is all, as you can probably tell, totally off the cuff, unscripted. Um, all of these are very, very negative. Like I don't have any friends. I don't have a people with whom I have conversation. I don't seek out people for emotional support. I don't manage emotions very well. I avoid feelings. I have overwhelming emotions. I don't express emotions. I'm not responsible. I hate myself. I don't know who I am. I'm not honest. I have a hard time when things don't go my way. I'm just reading off. You're getting bored. See, this is why I don't like myself. I really hate myself. Oh my gosh. Expressed values, those values are tough for me because those are kind of things that I want, but at the same time that I know for a fact that I will be unable to have. Expressed values, including, I'm reading off the paper now, accomplishment and exciting life, true friendship, loving partner, and financial security. Those are just things that I feel like should be important to anyone. The last value that I didn't write down is self hate because I believe I should hate myself, and I believe that everyone I meet should hate me. Okay, I this is tough. Okay. Clinical observations. Oh god, I hate everything. Literally the first sentence in clinical observations. It became immediately obvious that Thanendorf has some challenges with social interaction. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Out of everything in this 4-hour appointment that he was with me, this is the most important thing to say. Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to recover from that. But he follows that up with saying he was cordial and clear in his presentation, no hostility, resistance, anxiety, or fear. He spoke well and displayed high intelligence. Sure, whatever. Some other ones that are sort of interesting. I did say that I had symptoms of depression, being low energy, poor sleep, appetite disturbance, anhedonia, meaning that I don't enjoy things as much as I should. No indicators of thought disorders. I didn't have any speech tangents. I have a clear train of thought. Um, and here's another one that I thought was interesting. I sort of made a couple offhand remarks about my family. Spoke candidly and kindly about family without expressed emotion. Uh, yeah. Uh, Something that was interesting to me that I've been saying interesting way too much. Uh, the doctor thought that I was very socially uncomfortable. Immediately upon entering my office from the waiting room, he displayed what should be called social discomfort in the form of his engagement. I did not feel uncomfortable in the office. Let me just say, I felt totally fine. I thought I was being um totally clear, totally comfortable. I was just sitting down, engaging with the conversation. But he thought that I was freaking out. Um He looked around, seemingly avoided direct eye contact except for moments. I thought I was making good eye contact and was getting his bearings in this new setting. Um, he asked me how I felt in the strange setting, quote, strange setting. And my response was, yeah, I'm familiar with this. I've had quite a few therapists, I've had quite a few psychiatrists evaluate me. Um, and even though I said that I was about as comfortable as I could be meeting a doctor for the first time. Um, so apparent social discomfort continued throughout the interview. That's crazy. No one's ever told me that. Okay, so what does this all mean? These are all quotes from directly from the doctor. In simple terms, he doesn't understand, much less be fluent in the complexities of social interaction. I'm pretty sure you can see the foreshadowing here. Uh, I wasn't expecting this, but Apparently, I've developed good character, being honest and reasonable, and that came about because, I like to say, "No one likes me. Nobody should like me. Good people do not like me. Most people are good people, therefore, most people will not like me." Uh, he the doctor says that I said that I can't blame other people for my shortcomings, um, and I don't blame other people for not liking me, and I don't think everyone's a bad person. I just repeated everything that I just said. I'm so stupid. Um, while the aforementioned tests suggest that Thanendorf is in a great deal of emotional distress, he did not present with such symptoms, although, as noted, he did present as what we call cautious. Like, it's so weird. It's so paradoxical. The fact that I am very clearly in emotional distress, I'm clearly not functioning very well, even though I don't I don't believe that myself. Uh Last one. Array of mental health symptoms suggests an underlying factor of unresolved trauma, which then is migrated into a borderline personality constellation. This is the one that I was like 99% sure was the missing piece from my diagnoses. Borderline personality disorder just makes way too much sense, and I genuinely say that I was not using my knowledge of psychology to get this diagnosis on purpose. And that's very clearly seen in my MMPI scores, where rather than trying to deliberately outsmart the test and not flag the validity check, I did answer everything honestly. And the thing that I believe indicated to the doctor that I had borderline personality was when I was talking about the end of high school, when when COVID hit, I basically withdrew from most of the people that I had known from high school, with the exception of my girlfriend at the time, who I ended up breaking up with right before I left for school. And I'm never going to forget it. The quote that I said, this was completely unplanned. I didn't even know where I was going with this speech. I didn't need them. And I felt so guilty that I felt like I was discarding my old friends because I didn't feel like it was worth keeping in touch with them because I was gonna be moving away and would very much likely, never or rarely ever see them again. So why would I, uh, keep them as my friends at that point? And to him, at least, he after I said that, like, literally that line, he said, "I think I know what's going on with you." And at that point, I realized that is something that someone with borderline personality would say. Yeah, so that's a diagnosis. Look at all these things. The axes, that's part of a new thing in the DSM-5 where it separates psychological diagnoses into different domains of maladaptive behavior or symptoms. So axis one is where you've got all of your well, I don't know. Axis one and is pretty broad. Those are I guess psychological disturbances. PTSD is a very interesting one. That is something that I had not anticipated or expected. But as you'll see a little bit later, that one kind of gets put in context very, very well by this doctor. Um, I think the thing that indicated PTSD to him is the fact that I can't stand the thought of anybody liking me. If I if someone would say that you're worthy of love, you're a good person, it makes me feel physically ill. Like my mind just wants to reject the idea of anyone possibly ever liking me. And in a certain way, that can be seen as a trauma response, because, so many people, have rightfully, in my opinion, rejected me. Uh, that is, in taken in combination with borderline personality, I think that the combination of social rejection and the personality, is actually the cause of PTSD and not the result of it. But that's, counter to the opinion of the doctor, not a physician. They're a doctor. Asperger's, hooray! Who would have ever thought that this guy who has no friends, has never been able to socialize, and the first sentence of clinical observations is clearly has social difficulty. Oh my gosh, this kid's autistic. Also, I'm pretty sure Asperger's isn't even a thing anymore. Like, Asperger's has been absorbed into what we now call the autism spectrum disorder, and he does describe in the report it as autism and usually not Asperger's. Though Asperger's is a little bit more descriptive in that it's very um, high functioning on the spectrum. Uh, so yeah, I don't have I don't know what to call it, especially because I haven't actually um, seen Asperger's in any of the texts I've been reading, because I've just been taught Asperger's is no longer a thing. It's just all part of autism spectrum. But the I'm rambling again. This basically Asperger's is a good description of what I have. It's just not the contemporary way to say it anymore. Adjustment disorder. This one's interesting because adjustment disorder is a maladaptive response to a change in environment or a specific psychosocial stressor that lasts less than 6 months. If it has been more than 6 months, it is post traumatic stress disorder. Uh, I can't think of any recent changes within the past 6 months. Obviously, I had starting back at college, but that was 12 months ago. Anxiety and depression, sure. Like, I've been told I have anxiety since I was like 16, and I don't want to have to rehash anxiety and depression. Axis 2 is the personality disorders. Borderline, I've been over that. Um, in my case, I believe that the coincidence of borderline and autism is making things a lot more difficult, because borderline personality disorder, the most common feature is a lack of an ability to form lasting, stable relationships. Opinions of people being very volatile, thinking that they are a great person and then thinking they're a terrible person after maybe a minor altercation or a minor disagreement. Maybe they didn't text you back fast enough, and so now you think everyone hates you. Um, and people with borderline personality tend to have short, very intense relationships. The thing is, I'm autistic, so no one would ever want to like be in a relationship, whether that be intimate or not. So therefore, I just don't have any. So it's just short relationships. Because what the thing I said to the doctor is that everyone leaves me eventually. Everyone learns who I am. The longer someone gets to know me, the less they like me. And everyone's willing to put up with my garbage, just basically being an all around terrible person, for a while, but eventually everyone learns who I am and rightfully cuts me out of their life. Yeah, that's that's the personality disorder for you. Axis 3, that one is medical issues, because medical issues can have a significant effect on someone's psychological or social well-being. I don't have any right now. I guess if you count obesity, I guess if you count trying to preserve my knees, I don't. Um, Axis 4. Uh, social, academic, recreational, vocational. Correct me if I'm wrong. That describes literally everything I do 24/7. I am always doing, unless it's a survival activity, it is one of those four things. So, that's just basically showing Axis 4 is where somebody has difficulties. Axis 5, that one is a scale of, what is it? Function. So it goes from a scale of 0 to 100, with 100 being no disturbances at all. 90 is like minor disturbance caused by transient environmental effects, like maybe something really tragic happened in your life, but you're coping with it well. That would be a 90. Um, 50 means that somebody is experiencing significant impairment in multiple areas of their life. And 50 is very important because below 50, that's where you get into profound mental disability. For example, 40 means that somebody is losing or somebody does not have full grasp of reality. 40 would mean that somebody is having delusions, they're having um, thought, they have a thought disorder of some sort, whether that would be schizophrenia, schizoid, um, like more severe autism, where someone is unable to function independently. So basically, 50 is the cutoff between functional and basically not independent. So I am still living independently. I am still functional. I still go to work. I still go to school, but it is all very, very difficult. That was really, really long. How long is this recording? Holy shit, I've been ranting for half an hour. This is going to be hell to edit. So, lastly, the doctor left with some messages directly to me. It seems that you have suffered greatly in life, which is possibly due to your unique neurological structure, namely autism, which itself has at its core a social inadequacy. Then, you have been assaulted by the social world, a world that has not understood your nature. These assaults have led to the distress you feel, which is best described as PTSD. Furthermore, you have seemingly developed coping mechanisms to deal with rejection and misunderstanding that have created an apparent presentation of BPD, this despite your good character. Um, so yeah, as of about a day ago, I'm officially autistic, and traumatized, and borderline personality. I mean, I think that really puts it all putting it all together. You know, the biological effects of autism and the social effects causing PTSD, and then causing those. I guess the way I cope with that is by saying that I'm a bad person, I don't deserve to be loved, and no one should ever be around me. That is borderline personality, despite the fact that maybe I am still a reasonable person. I believe I'm not, hence the low validity scores in the MMPI. Sure. Um, lastly, to therapists, because this doctor is not my therapist, he's a PhD that's doing assessments for me. Face, feel, and finish the traumata. Traumata is just plural for trauma. Underlying apparent PTSD. Be directed by someone how to cope with autism while being in a profoundly social world. Basically, I need therapy. Yeah, this guy needs therapy. Who would have guessed? Um, it does make sense. The more that I at first I thought PTSD was like really out there, but now that I'm thinking about it more, I think it makes sense. Just the fact that I feel so strongly that I should not be loved, I should not be liked, and the thought of loving myself makes me feel disgusting. Um, that that does sound like PTSD. And the final quote that he gave to my therapist, this is not complete, by the way. The report is 11 pages long. It is very, very dense. Um, he needs to be aware that he is, in simple terms, much smarter than almost everyone else. This is a blessing and a curse. Help him understand this dilemma. I honestly was in denial about this for a very, very long time. I did not think that being smarter than everyone else um, would cause all these things. That to me, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I go to the top college in my state. I was part of like a scholars group as a freshman, that was given to the top 10% of the incoming class. 10% is a lot of people. 10% is not even two standard deviations above the mean. Uh, and I thought everyone else around me is smart. I am at I don't want to say I'm as smart as everyone else because I'm much dumber than everyone else around me. Presumably, everyone else around me is as smart as I am. I was living in a dorm for that scholars group, and they all got along really well. I did not. No, none of them liked me. But my therapist was telling me, what if you're like smarter than other people, and that is causing you to just not understand them, or they don't understand you. I wanted so much to not believe that. Smart people have friends. I don't. Therefore, it is and plus the fact that I am not smart. I need therapy. It's almost 11 o'clock. I'm yelling. I'm glad I live in the basement because I bet my roommates are pissed at me right now. Roommates as in we share the same house. They're all on the main floor. I'm in the basement because yeah. Sorry. That is that is the most difficult thing for me. I I just can't wrap my head around how being smart can prevent you from getting along with people because everyone else around me is smarter than me. They all have friends. I mean, obviously the autism is a really important part of it, but yeah, that's the end of the slideshow. I don't know what I'm supposed to take from all of it. Um, what does the doctor say? It is most important for you to avoid the tendency to think of yourself as having something wrong with you, like any mental health diagnosis. Rather, it is most advisable for you to see the strengths you have, which, at the very least, are brilliance and character. This will help you develop a sense of self and help you overcome your feelings of being inadequate and overly distressed. From this perspective, you can develop means of being yourself while developing better skill in social matters and ultimately intimate relationship matters. I do not believe you can do this on your own. You need to find a competent therapist who can help you with understanding yourself and liking yourself like liking yourself first, and then making adjustments in development in life, predominantly social life. If at all possible, it would be good for you to find one or more recreational groups. Your skating training may also help you. Social groups of this kind have a purpose that can be a bridge into forming and developing social relationships. Mm. Yeah, I'd like to say I tried it all. I joined a music group that said that they were like a family, but none of them liked me either. Yeah. I don't I'm mentally ill. Not just mentally ill, I'm mentally disabled. I like, these are disabilities. I struggle to form and maintain relationships. I struggle to, with routine social interactions, and I hate myself. I need a therapist. I need someone who can me understand myself, like myself. Just yeah, I was having fun earlier ranting about lecturing about different psychology concepts, talking about how they relate to me, but after that, you just pull it back and it's just feel empty.